you can do whatever, you can accomplish whatever you want in life, but you can't want whatever you want in life. And what that second part means is that if you don't really truly want it, there's no faking it.
No.
There's no half step.
You can't manufacture motivation.
And I think any of those people that are on Twitter that you're referring to, anywhere you experience in life, that say it's not fair, that's not true, not anyone can make it, then I think that they're right. That because they will never make it because they don't want it.
Right.
And they may think they want it, but if they actually wanted it, they would probably have the mentality that I understand, which was that kid scrubbing pots, which was just like, look, I may never achieve the level of success that I'm fantasizing about in the bottom of this chowder pot, but I sure as fuck will die before I give up trying.
Right.
And I think that's the want that I'm referring to when I say not everybody can get to that place. And I don't think that that's an egalitarian. I don't think everybody has the same access point. I don't think that that's fair because I just don't think everyone can access that mental space. I think we live in a world where there's a lot of safety nets. I think that if we're all on a highway, there are exits everywhere that are so much easier than persevering. And I think that unless you truly have that kind of sociopathic resolve to achieve a level of success, a self-determined level of success, whatever you set out to accomplish, unless you have that crazy gene,
right.
No, you're gonna choose a path that's maybe has a little bit less resistance in front of it. And I would never fault someone for that. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think the only part that doesn't make sense to me is the insistence by a group of people that complaining about the world being unfair instead of quickly acquiring skills and taking over and building things, which is open to everybody, is a lot less work in my mind than sitting there on Twitter complaining forever. The average American is watching 5 hours of TV a day. And you can learn to video edit and teach yourself in, 100 hours? 200 hours? What would it take to be generally good at using one of these SLRs to shoot? It took you how long? 100 hours? 200 hours?
10,000.
Okay, 10,000. You want to go with the Malcolm Gladwell. By the way, you could, if you got rid of TV, you would gain back 1,800 hours a year. So you could be relatively good at it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And a master in 5.
I agree. I think, I do think that the world is unfair.
Of course it's unfair,
think that
yes.
for whatever reason, like a funny looking, big nosed Jewish kid from high school dropout from Connecticut, like I've just been hard work and all that shit. But I also have been tremendously lucky. There's
always
lucky.
luck. Yeah, there's always luck.
I mean, I'm healthy. I'm not inhibited by any health. Like the obstructions that I've faced in my career and in my life have all been overcomeable. So I think that there's a lot you can do to help skew luck, but I think that luck is a huge component of success, and I think that it's something that's easy to gloss over, especially for successful people. But I'm super conscious of just how lucky I've been at every single turn.
Yeah. But you've been lucky like 15 times. So at a certain point, like some number of those are the massive amount of effort you're putting in and the resiliency and the hustle.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I would never discount anyone's effort on their way to success, but I think that to not acknowledge that there are aspects of a climb to success that are outside of your control, are luck.
And people do have different levels of struggle. So as hard as it was for you, with your dad being an equipment salesperson, you at least had 2 parents present, and they could have sort of. I mean, or you could have had no parents.
Look, I always say that like I started at 0 because I was on welfare when my kid was born. We had nothing. But I take that back. I don't think that that's a fair statement.
Yeah, you started at like 2. And there were people who had it rougher.
No, I mean, I think I started at 10,000. I think I started at 100,000 because I think that what I had to overcome as like a kid in southeastern Connecticut who was, on welfare and had a baby, that sounds like shit. It couldn't get worse than that. But then you put yourself out there. You start to understand this world a little bit. I think one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life, and it was working with a nonprofit called Treat the Pain, and Treat the Pain distributes morphine to people who are dying of AIDS in rural Africa. So I went around and distributed these bottles they look like bottles of milk, but essentially it was abuse-proof morphine, because if you drink enough to get high, you immediately vomit. So you could only take enough to really medicate your ailments. And I met a bunch of really interesting, wonderful people on that journey through Uganda. But I remember meeting one girl. It took us 6 hours in a Jeep to get to her house to deliver this morphine. And she had AIDS because she was raped when she was a very young child. And she was making a living, making ends meet, because she would sell cookies to the local people in her village. I bought some cookies. They were great. And I think that if in her life, if God willing, she gets to live to 70, 80 years old, if she were to ever get to my 0, she would consider herself the luckiest girl in the world.
For sure, yeah.
And having the the benefit of getting to experience that, I realized, you want to talk about luck.
Yeah, being born in America.
My luck of being born in America, my luck of, having parents that put food on the table, my luck of a public education system,
Or being born in this era.
Sure, yeah. My luck of not being born in, 1902 and getting shipped off to war 15 years later. My luck of not having to, deal with physical ailments or being born with a disease or any of those things. That's all luck that I didn't work for.
Yeah.
That's luck that had no
That's the lottery.
effort. That's the lottery. And that's why I say, no, I didn't start. Are you fucking crazy? I didn't start at 0.
Yeah.
I was born with a golden ticket. I was born, I got 2 healthy legs and 2 healthy arms, and I can stand tall and I can speak, and I was born in America. Are you fucking crazy? You know how lucky I am?
Yeah.
All this other stuff is just icing.
Absolutely.